Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 52 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. It's amazing that this is episode number 52. We are almost at a full year of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So if you have loved this and you keep listening, thank you so much. And I hope that we continue to inspire each other and that these topics that we talk about each week will continue to serve you. And today's topic is a big one because it's a funny thing about life, isn't it? When we go through it, we're doing all the things, and then suddenly one day we start wondering about this idea of purpose. And suddenly we start to wonder and think, what is my purpose? We suddenly feel maybe a sense of overwhelm at this question because we've been so busy making a living that we didn't think about what does purpose mean to us. And maybe you've had a traumatic event in your life or some kind of awakening that has left you reeling and wondering, is this it? And so today we're going to dive into what a purpose is and how to find it. So you might have often felt that there's this sense of people out there in the world who just seem to have a purpose, and they just seem so strong, they seem really confident, they seem successful, they even move with a sense of purpose, and their life may seem to you very intentional, the opposite of accidental, and they just seem to know what they're doing at all times. Do you have someone in your life that you can think of right now that emanates this sense of purpose? If you do so, good. If not, see if you can think of one person today. And now, if you can bring that one person to mind, I want you to think about, how do you think they discovered their purpose? Do you think that they came out of the womb just knowing that this is what they were going to do with their lives? Most likely not. Instead, they likely started with an interest or a curiosity, and then they tried to do something with it. They didn't know what it would look like in the end, and this is the key. We often think that our purpose comes to us in a box wrapped up with a bow and a message declaring, here it is, and welcome to it. And this is why we get frustrated, thinking, I wish it was more clear. And we start to ask, well, how do I know if this is really it? We start to overanalyze. We never decide. And life is growth. Life isn't a map. It's not a point A to point B and then you're done. Life is about growing. And if life is about growing, your purpose will never be contained in a destination. It won't be contained in an achievement of any kind of external or material goods. It will live in the land of experiences. It will live in the land of possibilities. And if you're really struggling and trying to figure out what a purpose is or what your purpose is, here are some questions, 5 questions to be exact, to ask yourself if you're still uncovering your personal passions and identifying what purpose looks like in your life. So the first question is this: what lesson do you think you're here to learn? This is an important one because very often we think there is one decision we have to make, and that is the right decision to make. And what I have come to realize is that there is no right decision, but there is this idea of what lesson do you want to learn right now, because that informs us then of what decisions do we want to make. So if I decide that my lesson is to learn to love, then that informs the decisions I make about whether I'm compassionate towards other, whether I'm compassionate towards myself. And it also informs any kind of decisions we make about the vocation, the calling that we have. Because if I'm thinking, well, my lesson is learn to love, then I want to make sure that it's focused on that aspect. But if my lesson was to learn how to live with some kind of creative freedom, then that might look very different in terms of the decisions that I make. So I just want you to think on this idea of what lesson do you think you're here to learn? And again, this can be a broad lesson or it can be a singular lesson in this moment. Maybe the lesson in this moment is to change. But ask yourself this question, because it's not going to come from your head. It's really going to come from your heart. And the heart is where you decide what something means to you. The head will tell you a very rational answer about, hey, you need to make a certain amount of money, or this is a kind of job that's in demand, and we think that our purpose has everything to do with our work or our jobs. And sometimes it does, but other times it doesn't. And so be careful here and shift from the head into your heart when you ask yourself this question and really feel the answer coming from a different space. The second question is this: what problems in this world would you like to solve? Purpose does not come from a place of self-serving. Often when you think of people who feel that they have this great sense of purpose in their life, it feels like they're serving a mission that is bigger than them, that's greater than them. And you might think to yourself, May, I'm not this altruistic. I don't really think about how I can impact the world with my gifts in these ways that are, big and full of promise. I just want to make a living. I just want to find my next job. I just want to live a happy life. Is that okay? And I will say yes, because when we act upon our truest nature, we are living, human, breathing inspirations to other people around us. And for some, it may look like serving people in terms of a helping profession. But for others, it may be just caring for yourself or the people around you. It may be being an amazing team player. It may be leading a team in your own community or at the work that you do. We are not always defined by these grandiose visions, but what we are defined by is by our intention, our intent, and the way that we think that we are actually going to be most helpful in this moment. So when you think of the problems in this world that you would like to solve, it may not be this world hunger kind of problem. It could just be this idea of, well, I want to be here with my family and take care of them well, or I want to help my mom live a good life, or I want to be resourceful and sustain myself in this way and learn how to do that. So when we talk about these problems in this world you want to solve, really tap into this part of what would help you feel independent, what would help you feel like you are living with some kind of meaning. And that is the answer to that question. So the third question is this: what are your interests and what would you like to learn? So we often get tripped up because we think it must be this thing that we already know, that this purpose was just born inside of us, and therefore if I don't know it now, something's wrong with me. But I'd like you to flip the script for a second and to start to think about purpose as this sense of discovery, a sense of identifying what do we enjoy, what lights us up, and what turns may our life take in all these unexpected ways. I remember telling a friend a long time ago when I was in college, and this was after college, it was a friend from college that we had connected with afterwards, and I was explaining to him, hey, life is just amazingly unexpected in terms of all these experiences that I'm having now, or all these jobs, or the people that I've met. I could have never imagined this a year ago. And that's what I would describe my life as. And I remember his comment back was just like, this is so amazing. How beautiful is that? And it really sunk in. in that moment that I don't have to know, because the unimaginable, the unexpected may be even better than I could have planned. And if I had that kind of patient and, kind of grateful and appreciative expectation that life was just going to show me a beautiful surprise around the corner, not because I'm waiting for and expecting it, but just that's how life works, then that was a beautiful place to be. And so I'd love for you to channel some of that curiosity and that feeling of, I have no idea. I really have no idea where this one thing may lead me. But if I start to think about some of the interests that I have right now, maybe it's a book that you want to purchase and read more about. Maybe it's a topic that you can learn more about. No matter what it is, what are you curious about? Follow that thread and see what happens when you start to go there, because we never stop learning. We never stop growing. And when we do, that's when we start to feel a lack of passion. That's when we start to feel the sense of our soul is dying inside of us, because we don't feel energized anymore. We don't feel like that life-giving force of creation is happening within us. And when we learn, when we follow interests, we create. And that is a beautiful way for you to start living into the sense of purpose, the sense of learning more about who you are and what you're interested in and what you enjoy. All right, the fourth question around purpose is this: who would you like to learn from and why? It is close to the last question, but it's different, because when we start to think about who we would like to learn from and why, what we're really asking about is what inspires you and whose life inspires you. When we connect to the sense of oneness, this sense of connection between other people, we develop a compassion. And whether you realize it or not, the role models that you have, maybe even some of the mentors that you have that don't even know you exist today, you can have this energetic connection to their life and the way that it has taken shape by being curious about who you would like to learn from and why. Often we think that these amazing people, again, just landed where they are, that they had amazing things that happen and we have no idea, and suddenly they're there. But we want the outcome, but we don't want the process that it took to get there. And when we want to learn from others, we're usually really curious about the process. We're interested in the process because we see the outcome, but really when we start to get interested into people's lives, we realize that, wow, they had a lot more complicated lives than we ever could have imagined. And that's the same for you, whether you realize it or not. You are a person for someone else. You are that person that someone would love to learn from, that someone would love to pick your brain, to ask you some questions. So just never forget that. As much as we start to look outside of us for our purpose, realize that you living your life, just asking the questions that you're asking, is an amazing journey to be on. And that leads us to our purpose too. And you can start to see a theme here around this idea of learning, of growing, of discovering, of asking questions. And what you're seeing is not a final destination. And finally, the last question is this: what would you like to create in this world? What would you like to create in this world? The idea that we are these creative beings, no matter if your job is to actually be someone who you typically think of as creative, like an artist. You are a creative being. And when we create, we draw from inspiration. Inspiration comes from the word to be in spirit, which is a connection to source, connection to your highest self, a connection to the universe, whatever it is that you resonate with. How do we create in this world? By connecting to something bigger than us, to an energy that is around us and is always available for us, guiding us, leading us, supporting us all along the way. And when you start to connect into that energy, what you're really starting to think about is, how do I act upon my intuition? How do I act upon these intuitive nudges? I'm starting to see things. I have these ideas. Ever since I was a kid, I had this idea or had that idea. And maybe we never stopped to ask ourselves questions. What would we like to create in this world right now? But I bet at some point you had asked yourself that, or you saw something and you thought, wow, I would love to do that for a living. Or wouldn't that be neat? Don't discredit those brief moments. Even if you never took action upon them, I would encourage you to write all those things down. The things that ever since you were a kid, you kind of had a knack for, or that you experienced and you were like, this was amazing. And start to ask yourself, why? Why did you feel that way? What about that really lit you up? When you think about creating things in the world, where would you like to see your creations? How would you like to have it take shape? Would it be something internal? Would it be something external? Where would it live in this world? And when you start to think that big, you suddenly get scared. Sometimes you think, there's no way I can possibly do this. I've never done this before. How could it be possible? And you shut it down. And I'm encouraging you right now to just let yourself think without the rational mind taking over. We have to start with our heart and then let the mind figure out how to execute it later. But right now, when we're in the process of working on purpose and discovery, we have to quiet all those voices of judgment, of what other people think, of what would it look like to someone else. And I know many of our lives have been created because we asked others what they thought about our lives, and we lived a life in accordance with what other people think is the best, is good. But imagine there was no one here talking to you, and everyone was minding their own business, and everyone thought that what you did, what you said, what you created was going to be amazing. No one was going to be mad at you. Your kids weren't going to be mad at you. Your parents aren't going to be mad at you. Your spouse, your partners, your friends. No one would be upset at what you're doing. What would you do? What would you create? What would you bring into this world? And again, it doesn't have to be one thing. It can be many things. And what you're starting to see here is that you're not going to find your purpose without some kind of action in this world. All these questions are about learning, problems, interests, who, and creating something. What you're seeing is that you need to take a step towards seeing your life as one beautiful lesson and finding purpose in that. When you look at the problems you know you can solve and you can help someone or something, even if you're not paid to do it yet, that is also an action that we're taking towards finding our purpose. When you ask yourself what you're curious about and what do you want to learn more about, you can sign up for a course, you can read something, you can listen or watch something that will stimulate your mind in those areas that you feel real excitement around. When you think of a person that you'd love to meet and learn from, ask yourself, why is that person meaningful to you? What do they represent? How do they live their lives? And finally, really think about how our purpose gets charged by our ability to turn energy into matter. And so that is the purpose of asking that question. What do you want to create? When we light ourselves up by turning energy into matter, thought into form, we are creating and we are living into our purpose. Because your purpose is not a job, although it can be. It's also not a person, although it can be connected to someone. Purpose comes from finding a compelling reason for doing something. It's what gets you out of your head and into your heart again. It's when you get overwhelmed with this idea of purpose and you come back and remind yourself that even in this discovery process, you are living your purpose. So there is no gap. There is no gap, there is no gap, there is no gap between the purpose and you. I repeat, there is no gap right now between the purpose and you. And your life being lived right now is an amazing artistic expression. It is purposeful in and of itself without you having done anything or justified your existence. All these questions we're asking is just getting you deeper into it. It's getting you anchored more into the why and the what and the how and what does it look like. But it does not mean that you do not have one if you can't have a sentence that you're able to throw out when someone says, "What is your purpose?" Which, by the way, most people will not ask you. You might ask yourself, maybe I will talk to you about it. Most people in life aren't going around quizzing you on purpose. And so realize that there is no gap and there's no better and there's no worse. There is a sense of maybe you deciding that you're a little more curious about this topic, that you want to answer this question. But that's your self-discovery process. And that in and of itself, again, is your purpose too, to understand yourself better. Whatever you're doing, whatever questions you have, whatever you are working through is meant to be worked through in this time, in this place, for you. For you. So you do not have to be somewhere else, go somewhere else, live someone else's life. Right here, right now, you have the right life for you to be living your purpose because you already are. And the finding of your purpose, that whole process was never meant to be this final thing that allowed you to live fully. Like, here I am, I found it, now I can do the thing. The reason for anything in your life is because you desire it to be this way. So the reason for you to ask this question is because you feel maybe that you're not living your life fully. So close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and think of what you want to do next. You can open your eyes, and what I'm going to tell you is honor that. Whatever it is you want to do next after you're listening to this, as simple as it may seem, honor that, live that, and then repeat the process. Ask yourself, what's the next best thing to do? Honor that and live that, and repeat. And living in alignment. This is living in alignment. When you do that with what you know to do and what your highest self is calling you to do, that may be one of the most purposeful things you can do with your life, because it is accessing our highest intelligence for the highest good of ourselves and others. And it's taking our action from a place of alignment with this intuition. This may sound simple, to love and to act from a place of love. But I'll ask you this question. Isn't this one of the most purposeful things that we can do with our lives? So honor yourself, and trust that the experience that you are having and allowing into your life is that full richness of life. And when you honor yourself and you trust yourself and you experience your full life, you will be living into your purpose no matter what you are doing. No matter what you are doing. All right. So I love you, my friends. Have an amazing week. And if you loved this topic and you want to dive into it even deeper, I encourage you to join Intuitive Leadership Group Coaching. Each month, we're going to break down topics such as these to answer the big questions, help you take action, and move forward with clarity and peace in a group container guided by me, myself, and I, as well as a few others. So you can go to www.mayamson.com/intuitive leadership coaching if you want to learn more. I cannot wait to see all of you in there. We have an amazing group, and I'm so glad that this is one of the things that I get to do in my purpose of being here. And so again, Love yourself, honor yourself, trust yourself, experience the fullness of life, and you will be living into your purpose. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.